party starter. Everybody, let's go.
What is happening, YouTube? Just getting started here. I need some stronger coffee. It was a late night with friends celebrating a birthday, so had some amazing burgers. It was awesome. So today what we want to do is we're going to do a quick intro and a hello world getting started, if you will, with Terraform. So I've been reading a phenomenal book, Terraform Up and Running. This is they're on the version 2, Writing Infrastructure as Code by Brickman. I think Brickman has another name that's much more easier to pronounce. You can find him on YouTube. He's got some phenomenal content surrounding Terraform. So we're going to kind of play off of our getting started of deploying with the shell scripts and with PowerShell. So using the PowerShell tools and the AWS CLI tools for Linux, Unix platforms. So today we'll do the same thing, but we want to achieve that with Terraform. Now the beautiful thing with Terraform that we don't get with those other tools is a thing called state. And what that is going to allow us to do is to do things in more a declarative fashion rather than procedural. So if we go over to our Visual Studio Code and we look at the examples, this was our example to deploy a new EC2 instance into Amazon. And here is the same procedural code to deploy an EC2 instance using the AWS CLI tools. Okay, so what's the difference? Procedural versus declarative. Well, one is in the syntax, but then two, it's really just another abstraction layer. You know, developers love abstractions. So if you can understand this, and you can understand kind of be familiar with what some of the raw API calls that Terraform is going to be doing on our behalf, you can appreciate the tool. However, I think just, if you just wanted to just jump in and learn Terraform, that abstraction could be detrimental maybe to your learning. So it may be beneficial for you to poke around and do more procedural actions against these providers, which is a Terraform term. That may be, again, beneficial for you. So what we'll do here is we're going to kind of slug our way through a hello world in Terraform and achieving the same thing we did here in this procedural code. Again, one of the important things that Terraform presents is the idea of state. And what state is in Terraform is running. It captures the running state, if you will, the running state of our environment. So, for instance, if I run this PowerShell code that you see here on the screen, I have no way of maintaining the state. There is no state here. If I run this code once, I'm going to deploy an EC2 instance. If I run it twice, I'm going to run another one, a third, so on and so forth. Okay. So it's not declarative in nature, it's procedural. What declarative would do, and we'll see this once we get into the Terraform code, is this, what Terraform is going to do is say, hey, I'm going to tell Terraform, hey, I want one EC2 instance, okay? And I'm going to write that within their syntax. We'll see that here in a minute. And then if I run that code again or apply that code to my environment, Terraform with its state is already going to be tracking it and it's going to see, hey, you've already deployed this EC2 instance with the name, we'll just say test. So it's going to say, I'm not going to recreate that. You already have it, and it's already in the state in which you defined. So that's really just kind of a really rough intro to Terraform. Let's go out to their site and kind of get this thing started. So we'll say getting started with Terraform. Okay. Okay. So intro guide. What is Terraform? Terraform is a tool for building, changing, and versioning infrastructure safely and efficiently. So version control, which people with developer backgrounds, they understand the importance of this. So we have what's called immutability is what we're trying to achieve. So we're going to be able to write infrastructure as code, and we're going to have this immutable artifact with under our control that we manage, that we can then roll back to and again manage and deploy our infrastructure with a certain level of confidence and assurance that regardless of where environment that code is deployed to, we can expect the same results that we got within a dev to staging to production. Okay, so great intro videos here that it's going to obviously go into more details than what we're hitting here. So if this is definitely something you're interested, I highly recommend you pick up the Terraform Up and Running Writing Infrastructure Code, again by Brickman, and come over here and read the docs, because getting started in doing the Hello World is really not going to be that tough, as you're going to see here in a moment. It's all going to boil down to really just getting in and learning the provider docs, and you can see provider references over here to the left, and that's really what it's all about, is really just getting in and learning the APIs. So without further ado, let's kind of figure out where we can do this Hello World. Okay, so if we scroll over here, use cases, example configs. Thought maybe they had a let's do a tutorial. We'll do get started with AWS. So here we go. Intro. What is infrastructure as code? We want to do an install of Terraform. So it's going to take us through the install. We should be able to do a homebrew. We are on OS X here, so let's copy that. Go over to Visual Studio Code, and we missed our brew. Install Terraform. And while that's installing, let's go over here and see if there's any Terraform extensions. So look at that. What do we got? So we've got HashiCorp, Terraform, syntax highlighting, autocomplete. Yeah, we definitely want that. So while you're at it, you want to go over and install this extension. What do we got? Include syntax highlighting for the Terraform files and the vars, close braces, includes for each configuration, Terraform, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's install that, and let's see what else we got here. What's this one? This is a visual extension, add syntax support for Terraform configuration language syntax, which we already have. So nothing good here. It looks like Microsoft put out a Azure Terraform VS Code extension for developing with Terraform on Azure. So if that's your thing, autocomplete for AWS. Ooh, we want this. So warning, this is very beta. Things might not work as expected, so don't rely solely on this extension as a complete reference to Terraform parameters. Requirements doesn't include any of the Let's see what we got. Resource. That's cool. It's going to do some autocomplete for us. Okay. There's about 96,000 downloads. Let's go ahead and install that one too. Why not? Okay. Now let's go back out to the tutorial, and we should be able to see if Terraform, you can see tech help. Looks like we Terraform tech help. Sweet. It looks like Terraform has installed successfully. And so if you're on another platform, you can just follow those instructions and you should be up and running. So let's see here. Environment, workplace management, builds. Obtain and save credentials for a remote host in it. So let's do make dir inside of our current directory here. It's just kind of a rabbit hole or an offshoot from this original Docker registry project. So we'll say make dir hello Terraform. cd hello Terraform, and we'll say Terraform init. Okay. This directory has no Terraform config files. You may begin working with Terraform immediately by creating Terraform config files. I thought that's what init was supposed to do for me. Let's do Terraform help again. Initialize the Terraform working directory. Well, why? Okay, so Terraform initialized an empty directory. I thought it did more. Alright, so that's good. What else do we got? Let's move down. So quick start tutorial. Blah, blah, blah. They're doing some Docker stuff here. What do we got? Now that you've installed Terraform, you can provision engine. No. That's doing some web server stuff. Terraform apply. Okay, so you can see here that they're building. This is their Terraform file. Then they are applying that, and then they go look at that running in the Docker container. Then they destroy it. All right. So what we want to do is build infrastructure. All right. So prereqs: AWS account, the AWS CLI installed, a credential configured locally. Check, check, check. We're good on all of those. Okay, if you haven't, go ahead and follow these steps to get your AWS up and running. So what do we want to do here? So now we're going to create our Terraform file. So we'll say touch hello TF. We can see hello TF got created. Oops, what is it saying? Installed HashiCorp, blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. Now what do we want to do? So paste the configuration file below and save it. Terraform loads all the files in the working directory. So what do we want? We want required. We'll just copy all of this and we'll talk through it. This is literally the hello world Terraform. All right, so we've got Terraform, required providers, HashiCorp, AWS, provider, AWS, profile, default. We're going to deploy in US. Let's do ES2. ES2. Okay, and then we're going to say we want a resource, an AWS instance. And we're going to call this our test. And let's go grab the AMI from our PowerShell code. And drop that in there. Okay. Go back. What else does it want us to do? So we should be able to say Terraform apply. See what happens here. Terraform. Plan? Terraform plan. See what happens. Error, could not load plugin. Plugin rendition required. Please run Terraform init. Okay, so now that once we got our Terraform file in there, maybe we get some more. There we go. So we're initializing a backend, and that backend, again, that's really going to handle our state, so we can get into a more detailed video in the future. But it's essentially what Terraform is doing for us, is writing some backend stuff to manage that state. Okay, so now that that's good, we should be able to say Terraform Plan. So what Terraform Plan is going to do is tell us, hey, we're about, this Terraform file configuration. So if we see here, we're going to add 1, we're going to change 0, we're going to destroy 0. Well, what's it going to do? Here's all the stuff it's going to do. So it's already reading my credential file. We're all good to go. So Terraform will perform the following actions. AWS instance test will be created. It tells us the AMI. It tells us all these other properties are going to be changed off of apply. And what's good to note is actually all of these can be configured and wired up to be output variables. And we can get into that in a future video. What we're trying to do here is just demonstrate the hello world equivalent to our PowerShell. Where are we at? To our PowerShell code where we're creating the instance, as well as the shell using the CLI tools. Always multiple ways to skin a cat, but all build upon each other. And really, if again, like I told you from the beginning, if we understand what kind of those API calls are and what they're doing and things like that, we can have a much greater appreciation for what Terraform offers us. Okay, so as we can see here, Terraform's told us, hey, I don't see this test example. I don't see this test instance. So we see here, hey, I don't see that. I'm going to add it. So we haven't committed anything. We have to say Terraform apply. And before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and log into the AWS Console. Okay, so I'm going to log into the AWS Console. Let's say AWS. Loading it up over here. And then we will drag it. Okay, it's timed out. It's good. Authenticate. All right. So I will pull this over. Come to EC2. So we'll show before we hit the supply that we don't have anything or a EC2 instance called test. We come over here to running instances. We can see that, in fact, we do not have a EC2 instance called test, okay? So you know I'm not making stuff up. All right, so coming back, clear the screen. Now we'll say Terraform apply. As you can see, you see how it wrote locally this state file and it locked it. So to handle, you know, concurrent requests, etc., only one at a time can make modifications to that state file. And again, this is really elementary. This is the hello world of Terraform. And in future videos, we'll get into much finer detail in regards to how we can manage our Terraform and set up our project spaces, because considering that we're probably going to be working on it as a team, and Terraform really has done a great job on having that back end being able to be hosted remotely, etc. And we can do a video of setting and demonstrating that. So do you want to perform these actions? So it's saying, hey, we're about to apply. What do you want to do? Are you sure? We're going to say yes. Someone's unhappy. So AWS instance test creating. We should be able to go out to here. Let's do a refresh. And voila. There is our EC2 instance. Perfect. So what we can see is, if we go back to the code, this test is really a Terraform ID. That's not really, so boom, one resource added. But anyways, this test is not a AWS specific identifier. That is a Terraform identifier. So we can see that the name test is nowhere to be found in here. Okay. But what we want to do now is, what if, so here's the beauty of procedural versus declarative, because this hello Terraform file is declarative in nature, and it's explicitly saying, as I read it and reason about it, it's like, hey, okay, this guy only wants one AWS resource, and that resource is a EC2 instance that is of type T2 micro, and he's got a name test here. All right, so what if I do this? What if I go back and say Terraform Plan? Watch what happens. So it's going to go read state, diff the state accordingly in accordance with our Terraform file. So it's referencing state, refreshing state, referencing state. Okay, and it's so no changes. Infrastructure is up to date. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, if I run this code, I've got to write all that logic by hand to check state to ensure any drift with configuration is there. This is strictly procedural. If I run this code, this PowerShell is not smart enough without me applying and writing by hand all the logic. I'm going to go ahead and create another EC2 instance. Procedural versus declarative and all of the things in which Terraform is handling under the hood for us. Amazing. All right, so let's make a change here. What if I say test 1? Which I told you was Terraform specific, but it's smart enough to know, regardless that I didn't have what's going to be a tag, which we'll fix that here in a minute. So let's see if it identifies this test 1 resource as being different. So we'll say Terraform Plan. Now watch what happens. It's checking state against our current Terraform file. Refreshing state. This is exciting stuff. Specifically, if you've ever had to write procedural code. All right, so check out what just happened. Terraform checked the state and it said, "Hey, well, previous state shows that you declared that you wanted one EC2 instance that was named just test. Well, now your Terraform file is saying you only want one EC2 instance, but the name is test1. So it's saying, hey, I'm going to add a new instance, and then I'm going to destroy the old instance, which was test. So now, check this out. What if we copy another resource, and then I say, hey, I want test to still be there. So if we run plan again, we shouldn't see anything getting destroyed. We should see one instance being added. So it's going to check state. So look at that plan. It's going to add one resource, destroy none, because our file is reflecting the current state. We delete test again, clear, and plan it again. We should see one being destroyed, one being added. So I am declaring and stating exactly how I want my infrastructure to look within Terraform. Super powerful, and again, hopefully you can appreciate the difference between procedural and declarative. And if you don't yet, just go ahead and write some procedural code and then manage all of that. So this is taking a while. So in the meantime, there should be something. I don't have the syntax highlighted. Is there? Yep. Ooh, I do have. So look at that. Tags. What does tags take? So tags, optional. A mapping. So it should say it should be equal to key value pair, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll say is equal to, and we'll say name is equal to test. Let's wait for this Terraform plan to refresh. Must be all confused. I might have messed it up trying to edit it while I was trying to run a state change. Let's kill that. Okay, so it said no changes. So now there should be a change because there should be two changes. So if this, let's do Terraform plan. There should be one add, there should be one destroy. And then our add, we should see our tag name. If I wrote that syntax correctly, we should be deploying a new EC2 with the name test. So we should see that reflected inside of our AWS console. So let's wait for this plan to finish. Oh. So see. So there's our first one. All right, so one plan, one to add. Okay, so let's add test one here. So apparently, I mean, unless we're going to get like a runtime error, it appears that it does like my tag syntax there. Okay, so let's do Terraform apply. And what we should see is the one EC2 getting terminated, our new EC2 getting added, as well as having the name test1 applied. Let's run that. So if the syntax is right, it should translate those tags into the API call. If not, it will blow up here. Let's go over to the console and refresh. Okay, so it still hasn't terminated. Refreshing state. All right, are you sure? Hey, you're going to destroy one. Are you positive? If we go and look, let's go up. Let's look at what's happening here. All right, so it's telling us it's going to destroy AWS instance test will be destroyed. Great, I don't want it anyways. So if we look, an ID, so ID 83405, we go to the console. 83405. This current one is going to get terminated, and then it's going to say AWS instance test 1 will be created. Let's go down and see if our tags, look at that. Our tags are being added. Amazing. So I guess another way of enumerating some of the things, if you didn't have the documentation, is you could actually use this output. I mean, you don't know the shape of what it's expecting, but these are obviously possibilities. All right, so let's go ahead and confirm here. We should see the one getting terminated and our new EC2 instance getting added with the tag name test1. Go over and refresh. Okay, we see the one getting shut down, the other one being added. I don't see. Let's go here. Wonder if name was needed to be capitalized. Here's our tags. I'm wondering if name needs to be capitalized to be reflected there. But there is our tag. Name is equal to test1. But what I really wanted to do is update there. And I don't think there's a... Was it key name? No, that's the key name that's going to be accessing. Which we should probably add a key name. We won't be able to access these hosts, so that's kind of important. So I'm wondering if let's change this to name. And oh, this is actually a great example. So because I made that change in my Terraform file, I have this. Do I have to redeploy? No. Let's do Terraform Plan again. And all we did was made a change to this key here. Instead of a lowercase n, we did an uppercase n. Let's do a Terraform plan. Refreshing. Alright, so one change. It's going to make one change. Let's go ahead and apply that. Terraform apply. So you can see the power of Terraform from a configuration management and configuration drift standpoint, right? I could have a specifically scoped configuration Terraform file for some specific infrastructure or microservice, have that wired up, and then I could have it Terraform on a cron job checking against its current running state. So if some admin went in after the fact and made changes, we can go ahead and write over those on whatever type of scheduling that I deemed necessary. So tons of opportunities from that standpoint as well. Protect the admin from themselves. Alright, so it's modifying test 1. Let's see if it updated. Refresh here. There we go. Okay, so it is, if you're going to update specifically this name, so this tag reflects this name that's being reflected within the UI there. So there's our test 1. Amazing. So now let's do a Duke Nukem. So I don't want any of this infrastructure anymore. Let's do Terraform destroy. AWS instance refreshing state. This is, again, another great tool to have in your toolbox for setting up dev and test environments as well and controlling costs. So if you can define these test environments that you're constantly spinning up, using infrastructure as code, leveraging Terraform, you can quickly do those things in a reliable, dependable way, and then when you're done, you can then go ahead and destroy them. And we're going to see the example here. All right, so it's saying, hey, I'm going to remove, let's go up, it should be saying test 1, so it's going to remove test 1. Remember, that's right there in our file. Are you sure you want to do this? There's no going back. Yes. So if we go out to the console, refresh. Yep, refresh. Let's go back to the code. So it's still doing its state and diffing and all of its awesomeness under the covers. So Terraform is just another tool in the toolbox. If you're not grasping exactly what these resources are and how this declarative code is translated into actual execution and changes being made, don't cheat yourself. Go spend some time in a procedural language of your choice, because all of these API services are language agnostic. So whatever it is language you like, go play with some of these raw SDKs, make some of these API calls, get familiar with the services that you have at your disposal, and then come over to Terraform so you can have a better understanding of what it is you're trying to accomplish. Because if I don't build something manually, how am I ever going to automate it? How am I going to define it as code? Okay, so DevOps may seem sexy, but it is extremely hands-on. It's tough work. If you go pick up or listen to any of his talks, Brickman, he lays out there exactly, hey, if you're trying to build out this infrastructure piece or that infrastructure piece, or you're trying to do an entire enterprise and translate all of it to infrastructure as code, he gives out some timelines that are kind of discouraging, but they're realistic. So again, this is all going to require some work, practice, and just rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty. So we can see destroy complete. If we go out to Amazon, refresh, we can see all of my resources have been terminated. Okay. So I'm going to shut this off now. What I hope we accomplished what we set out to do, which was really just to do a quick hello world in Terraform, a quick introduction, getting started. And I'm not the type of teacher, talker, or whatever that's going to show you every single step of the way. I think Don Jones said it greatly. He was like, I could teach you PowerShell, I can teach you this, that, and a third, but what I can't teach you is how to Google. Okay, you gotta learn how. You gotta learn to know what you don't know, and you gotta learn how to look for those answers. So what we did is we did a quick brew install on our Mac OS platform here to get Terraform installed. So that's going to be different for you if you're not on a Mac. Go out there, read the documentation, and get up and running. We did a hello world with AWS. Well, if you're not an AWS user, you're going to go out and you're going to get the Azure resources, and you're going to go read the Azure provider documentation. So always take your problem set, break it down into small itty bitty consumable pieces, and start there. Because if you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not even going to know what to do if you look at a problem set holistically. Okay. Take your problem, break it down into more manageable, practical pieces, and start chipping away at that. And then inevitably, eventually, you get there into solving your problem. So I hope this was useful to somebody. If not, it was useful to me. I like recording these videos because it keeps me honest. If I can speak out loud, because talking to the ducky or talking to the dog kind of gets old. So this another reason why I like creating these videos is it helps me. So if by helping myself, I can record these and upload them to YouTube, and they help somebody else, that's great. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you got an idea, if you want me to go into more detail on a specific topic, as always, drop me a comment below. And yeah, it was great. Catch you guys later. Peace.